For nearly 200 years, the Mughal Empire was, well, it was a global powerhouse, a titan. But then, in what felt like the blink of an eye, it all came crashing down. So, how did this happen? We're going to break down exactly how this colossal empire just fell apart.
Okay, I want you to picture this. It's 1739. The city is Delhi. The Persian invader, Nader Shah, has just stormed the capital. His troops are running rampant. I mean, a wave of pure terror, a terrible massacre, and they're looting everything in sight. But here's the thing you have to understand. This wasn't what killed the empire. No, this was just the final, brutal proof that the empire was already dead.
So, that brings us to the big question, right? How does an empire like this, one of the richest in the world, collapse so completely? Well, the answer isn't some big dramatic battle or a single invasion. It's a story of internal decay, a rot that started right at the very top. To really get to the bottom of this collapse, we've got to rewind way past Nadir Shah's invasion. The real story, the root of the problem, it starts decades earlier, with a massive crisis of leadership that basically turned the emperors into powerless figureheads. The real beginning of the end, it all points back to one moment, the death of Emperor Aurangzeb in 1707. You see, his long and honestly pretty divisive reign ended without a clear plan for who was next. And what happens then? Total chaos. A series of absolutely brutal civil wars just erupts. His own sons and grandsons start tearing the empire apart, fighting each other for the throne. And right there, that's the first major crack in the foundation.
And the chaos that followed Aurangzeb's death is, well, it's just staggering. Just look at this timeline. In a little over a decade, the throne became a revolving door. Weak, short-lived rulers, one after the other. This constant infighting at the very top basically paralyzed the entire empire. With the emperors so weak, you had these incredibly powerful nobles who stepped into the power vacuum. They became known as kingmakers, and I mean that literally. Guys like the Sayyid brothers were the real power behind the throne. They were installing and getting rid of emperors whenever they felt like it. The ruler of the mighty Mughal Empire was now nothing more than a puppet on a string. But look, the problem wasn't just the puppet emperors. The very backbone of the empire, its nobility, was also rotting from the inside out. The difference between the old days and now was just night and day. The early Mughal nobility, they were this loyal, super efficient force that actually ran the empire. But by the 18th century, forget about it. They'd become this collection of selfish, power-hungry groups, totally consumed by their own greed and their own little power struggles. These nobles were just locked in this constant toxic cycle of plotting and backstabbing. They were even starting civil wars against each other just to get ahead. So instead of serving the empire, they were literally bleeding it dry, tearing it to shreds from within. Devotion to the state was the last thing on their minds. Now, all of this political decay, it wasn't happening in a vacuum. It directly triggered a catastrophic economic meltdown. The constant wars, the nobility's insane spending, it all pushed the empire right to the brink of bankruptcy. So, this whole mess has a name, the Jagadari crisis. And it's like a domino effect, right? First, there's not enough land grants or jagirs to go around for all the nobles. This creates this insane, cutthroat rivalry. So when a noble does get land, what do? They squeeze the peasants on it for every last drop of income, as fast as they can. Naturally, the peasants get fed up and start revolting. This, of course, completely wrecks agriculture, which in turn means the state's main source of revenue just dries up. And the final domino? The central government is flat broke. They can't even pay their own soldiers. And the human cost of all this? It was just immense. As the whole system broke down, the burden fell squarely on the common people. The life of an ordinary peasant became, well, exactly this: poor, nasty, miserable, and just totally uncertain. They were trapped between the demands of the state and the greed of the nobles. Okay, so with the central government bankrupt and basically powerless, what do you think happened next? Powerful governors out in the provinces, in places like Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad, they started to break away. They formed their own semi-independent states, leaving the emperor in Delhi as ruler in name only. The once mighty unified empire was literally shattering into pieces. So let's recap where we are. The empire is hollowed out, it's fractured, and it's bankrupt. It was in this state of extreme weakness that it faced a new threat from the outside. A threat that would deliver the final devastating blow.
Now, this is a really crucial point. The invasions by guys like Nadir Shah and later Ahmed Shah Abdali, they weren't the cause of the collapse, they were the consequence. The empire's internal decay had made it a ripe target, an easy prey for any opportunistic invader who came knocking. And if you want to understand the sheer scale of this devastation, just look at this number: 70 crores. That's the estimated value, in rupees, of the plunder Nadir Shah just walked away with from Delhi. We're talking about legendary treasures like the Peacock Throne, the Kohinoor Diamond, all of it gone. In one single act, the imperial treasury wasn't just low, it was completely and permanently empty. But it was about more than just the money. These invasions absolutely shattered what little was left of Mughal prestige. The emperor was exposed to the entire world as being totally powerless to protect his own capital. This public humiliation, this loss of face, it broke the spell of Mughal authority forever. And all of this, of course, left a massive power vacuum. The old order was gone, shattered into a bunch of warring states. And this raises the final critical question. In the rubble of the Mughal Empire, who on earth was going to rise up and take its place? So let's put it all together. You've got a crisis of leadership at the very top, a nobility that's become corrupt and is only looking out for itself, and an economy that's completely broken down. All of this just hollowed out the Mughal Empire from the inside, leaving it a sitting duck for invasion. And while all the local Indian powers were busy fighting over the scraps, a whole new player was entering the game. You've got these European trading companies, and they're coming in with superior economic and military systems, and they are perfectly positioned to take advantage of all this chaos. So you see, the fall of the Mughals, it wasn't just the end of an empire. Oh no, it was the beginning of a brand new and profoundly different chapter in the history of India.